Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Spin, purveyor of eclectic album reviews and general musical meanderings. This week, I am going to bring your attention to Imogen Heap's 2014 album, Sparks. And I got into Imogen Heap in 2010 with her album, Ellipse, but I was definitely waiting with quite a bit of anticipation when Sparks came out. If you don't know anything about Imogen Heap, she's been around for years now. Her first album was in 1998. And despite being around for that amount of time, her actual solo album releases is kind of a sparse discography. She's released 4 albums, Sparks of course being the 4th. But if you look at her discography, she's got a very extensive list of collaborations that she's done that ranges from deadmau5 to Taylor Swift to Jeff Beck. It's a pretty eclectic mix. And that's I think that's indicative of a lot of how Imogen Heap works. When she's doing her own solo work, even in that venue, she tends to take a really collaborative approach to her music, as we'll see as going forward into this review. If I were to categorize Imogen Heap, I would call her a synth pop artist. The term synth pop, however, has a little bit different connotation in the current music climate than it did a little while back. A lot of music in current synth pop styles is intentionally retro. It's kind of meant to refer to sort of a heyday of synth pop, that being the 80s in general. And although Imogen Heap's work definitely has its roots in that era as a synth pop artist, what she's doing is way beyond that. So it's like an evolution in a different direction of that music. What if synth pop hadn't have frozen in 1989? And it did not. What she does currently wouldn't be possible if it hadn't have been what synth artists did in the 80s and even in the early 90s. But she's taken it in her own route and has developed it into her own thing. It sounds like this weird kind of mix between, the empowered femininity of Kate Bush, the earnestness of Peter Gabriel, and the kind of technological innovation of Thomas Dolby, with a little bit of like the kind of generally positive feel that Howard Jones used to have when he was doing like the dream into action in that phase of his career. And that's in my book, quite a mix of people to refer to when you're talking about a given one artist. But I think that she warrants that. Heap's music has a really noticeable use of like ebb and flow and dynamics and building up and deconstructing parts to really build tension and release it in very musical and tasteful ways. And some of that comes from her background. Her original background is as a synthesist and as a looping artist too. And musicians who have that kind of background, who are used to instruments that have those kind of affordances, tend to have a really good command of how to build songs up and tear them down and bring them back up again to keep the interest going and I'll give them direction and momentum as the song goes along.
Everything is the number one rule of don't do's. Well, you knew it all too well. You were supposed to be looking out for me. Have you any idea how difficult it's been? You know we've had it good, we've had it bad, so no hard feelings. We've done all we could and all we can, but save ourselves a sorry ending. You know we've had it good, we've had it bad, but this is as far as we can stretch. Let's stop pretending, stop pretending, and quit while we're still friends.
Sparks was an album that she kind of in a way crowdsourced its creation. Not like you'd think of crowdsourcing like a Kickstarter, but about 2011 when she started recording, having a concept for the album, she put out a call to all of her fan base through Twitter and through Facebook and through social media and asked them to send in sound seeds for things that she would be using on her album. So it might be a person like opening a refrigerator door or drying their hair or things like that, just things to kind of inspire her. And that sort of idea of bringing other people into her music, into her creative process as a form of inspiration is a consistent theme for her. So as she went through and created Sparks, she kind of make a schedule for herself. So she would, I think, once a fortnight, she would conceive of, record, and release a song singly through her through her social media. And so the album Sparks was actually released song by song through her media presence over the course of 3 years before she actually released it as a full-length, cohesive album. And along with all of these videos and the recording process, she also released extensive video blogs about the recording process and how the kind of work that she was doing to create each song. And so I could spend hours talking about any given one of the songs on Sparks because she's documented it so well. You go online, if you look up the making of any given one of the songs on Sparks, and there's anywhere from a 20-minute to a 45-minute mini documentary on the making of each song on the album, which is in and of itself an impressive approach. And it also allows her to give some credit back to the people who helped her record things. Whenever you throw things out into social media and ask for that sort of collaboration, giving credit in a way that works, that is fair to the people that are contributing to your work is kind of difficult. There's some moral issues there that you have to navigate. But as she's going along recording the album, she's giving very clear indications of where she's getting these inspirations from. An amazing example of the way that she uses her fan base, and she uses the public in general as a way to gain inspiration for her work, can be seen in the video blog post that she has for the making of the listening chair. In the case of the listening chair, she put together this whole almost anthropological research asking people what they think they would like to have songs written about. If there's a song that you'd like to see written, what would you like for it to be about? And she actually crafted this little chair that was a little bit of a private recording studio where people would go in and they kind of had a little confessional. And she recorded hours and hours of these confessionals for people. She admitted that she started having some difficulty finding threads that were tied all together. And through the course of these studies, she actually turned the camera lens kind of back on herself and realized that it was more about what she wanted to hear. So she created this song, The Listening Chair, that's all about her experience. The song is structured to where every minute refers to a 7-year period in her life. So as she goes through the song actually mutates quite a bit. It's made in little chunks, and you can hear that in the song. And it starts off at a very sort of, her childlike experiences all the way up to whenever she is, questioning her what she's going to be doing next as a musician and as an artist and as a person. So all of that research that she did with all these people actually gave her a deeper understanding of what she herself wanted to write about.
Cat, blue, piano are just some of the things I like. So the more that I see of them in my day, the better I sleep at night. Mum, Dad, Jazz, Juliet are just some of the people I love. So the more of all them I can get in my day, the better I'll sleep at night. I can move more, build castles, play ping pong, talk to animals, hold my breath for a long time and tell the future. Are just 6 of the things I can do, and the more I can fit of these things in my day, the better I sleep at night.
So Imogen Heap is innovative not just in terms of the way that she's using her internet presence to gain inspiration for her music. She also is a technical innovator. Of course, she had her initial beginnings as a looping artist and as a keyboard player, and has some dissatisfaction with that because of the fact that that kind of musicianship is very obtuse. It's very opaque. So she was on a quest to make her synthesis, her use of synthetic and computer music more visible and more entertaining to watch. So she came up after a lot of development with these things called the Mimu gloves. And the Mimu gloves are these kind of these MIDI controlled gloves that are motion sensitive, that are direction sensitive, and gesture sensitive. It attacks the problem of performance that synthesists have to struggle with. So the gloves have a set of gestures that she uses to control pitch and sound and effects and reverb and everything else. And again, there's a huge amount of documentation out there. She did a lot of TED Talks about these and her inspiration for using them. And they're even today, these Mimu gloves are a thing that she's constantly developing and constantly working on.
Big code to happiness, access.
you look at Sparks, each song was developed in a very unique and different way. And again, the documentation that she has out there is way deeper than I could go into right now. It's a huge rabbit hole. You could literally spend, and I did, almost a whole day just watching all of the stuff that's out there about the making of the songs on this album. But despite the development of each song being so unique and so discrete unto itself, the album is very, very coherent from beginning to end. It feels like an album that you can listen to straight through with a beginning and an end and with kind of a narrative arc to it. But it touches on so many different things. It has electronic music in it. It has some world music sections in it where she's gone out and collaborated with Indian and Chinese artists. It's impressive. It's almost intimidating, the amount of intelligence that she brings to bear on what she does. But at the same time, in watching her blog posts, she's very kind of self-effacing. She's very humble. She's very approachable and extremely charismatic. So it's hard not to like Imogen Heap by the end of delving into her as a person, because she's an incredible, respectable talent. But at the same time, she's a very open person, it seems like, and very excited and very enthusiastic about what she's doing. And that shows throughout the entire album of Sparks. Her enthusiasm for music and her love for what she does and her, I think, gratitude for being given the opportunity to explore music the way she does is evident throughout all of Sparks. And it blows my mind to this day that Imogen Heap just isn't a household name. I mean, it seems like to me she should be listed among some of the greatest pop musicians of the late 20th, early 21st century, because she's brilliant. So that's all I got for Sparks this week. I would really suggest checking it out, and definitely delve, if you're curious about her. Please let this serve as just an indicator to go and find out more about Imogen Heap, because she can speak for herself a lot better than I can about her. So I appreciate you staying with me for this. If you like the video, please subscribe to it, like it, share it, all that stuff. And of course, if you have music that you're interested in getting my opinion on, please PM me and let me know. I will be working very soon on my 2019 top 20 albums. So new music will probably be pushed to the beginning of next year as I kind of compile what I've been listening to the last few weeks and kind of get that list in a satisfying order. But until then, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.